So are you ready to unlock some serious potential?
Always.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into Sazid Arman's Level Up Your Life.
Okay.
Specifically, Chapter 10,
Right.
where he gives us a blueprint for reaching peak performance.
Sounds good.
We've got some interesting stories to share
Okay.
and some practical takeaways that'll help you level up different areas of your life,
Cool.
finances, your network, even your mindset.
Awesome.
What I find fascinating about Arman's approach
Yeah.
is that he doesn't just throw out abstract concepts. He grounds it in real stories
Yeah.
about people who are facing challenges that I think we can all relate to.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you're going to meet Liam. He's stuck in the paycheck to paycheck rut.
Yeah.
And Marcus, who thinks that networking is a total waste of time.
Oh, interesting.
And their transformations are pretty inspiring.
Well, let's jump into it.
With Liam's story.
Okay, so Liam is drowning in debt,
Yeah.
feeling totally powerless over his finances.
It's not until a friend points out that financial literacy is about freedom and choice, not just spreadsheets, that things start to click for him.
Right.
What were some of those aha moments that turned things around for Liam?
Well, one of the biggest things for him was simply tracking his expenses.
Yeah.
You might think you know where your money's going,
Right.
but until you see it, like actually write it down.
Yeah.
It's really easy for those small expenses to slip through the cracks.
Right.
And Liam realized, for example, that his daily coffee habit was costing him a fortune.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So from there, he starts budgeting.
Okay.
Not to restrict himself, but to make, conscious choices about where his money was going.
It's about taking control, right?
Exactly.
Instead of letting your money control you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what about investing? I know a lot of people are afraid to even think about it
Yeah.
because it can feel so overwhelming.
It can.
Like a whole other language.
Right.
So how did Liam tackle that fear?
Well, first he started with building an emergency fund,
Right.
having at least 3 months worth of expenses saved up. That safety net gave him the breathing room he needed to start exploring investing,
Okay.
even if it was just small, regular contributions to a retirement account.
Okay.
The main thing to remember is that time is your greatest asset.
Yeah.
Even small amounts can grow significantly over the long term.
So you don't have to become an expert overnight.
Not at all.
It's about starting small and being consistent.
Exactly. It's like planting seeds.
Okay.
You nurture them over time, and eventually they'll blossom.
I like that analogy.
And Liam also realized the power of passive income.
Okay, what's that?
It sounds almost too good to be true, but even things like small side hustles or using a high-yield savings account,
Right.
those can generate extra cash flow.
And what about debt?
Yeah.
You mentioned Liam's sister, Ava. She was trapped under a mountain of credit card debt.
Yeah.
How did Liam help her out with that?
Well, he introduced her to the snowball method.
What's that?
So it focuses on tackling the smallest debt first for a quick win.
Yeah.
Then you roll that payment amount to the next smallest debt, building that momentum.
Okay.
But what was really important was teaching her about those minimum payments.
Right.
And how credit card companies make a killing when people only pay the minimum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Understanding how interest works, that's crucial for everyone.
Okay.
It impacts everything, from loan payments to even how your savings grow.
So you're saying even if you're not in debt right now, understanding interest is like a superpower.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the numbers.
Right.
It's about making informed choices that set you up for success.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and meet Marcus, who was very skeptical about the whole concept of networking.
Yeah.
He thought it was all about schmoozing and self-promotion.
Right.
Until he had this pivotal experience at a professional mixer.
Oh,
He was basically dragged there, kicking and screaming.
I can imagine.
But a conversation with a seasoned professional changed his whole perspective.
Really?
Yeah, this man emphasized that networking isn't about bragging or trying to score favors.
Right.
It's about building genuine connections and learning from other people's experiences.
Makes sense.
And he said something that really stuck with Marcus.
Okay.
He said, opportunities don't just magically appear on your desk. They come from people.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so how did Marcus go from avoiding networking events to actually embracing them?
Well, it wasn't an overnight transformation, right?
No, of course not.
It was gradual.
Yeah.
He started by attending those industry meetups, but with a different mindset.
Okay.
Instead of trying to collect a bunch of business cards,
Yeah.
he focused on having genuine conversations and learning about other people's journeys.
Okay.
He was curious.
Right.
He asked thoughtful questions.
Yeah.
And he really listened more than he talked.
So it's not about what you can get.
No.
It's more about what you can learn and contribute.
Exactly.
And guess what?
What?
That new approach led to a mentorship
Really?
that totally changed his career.
Wow.
So he connected with a recruiter at one event that eventually helped him land a job.
Nice.
He even reached out to an executive he really admired on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And just by expressing gratitude,
Yeah.
that turned into a valuable mentorship.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing
It is.
how one small step outside your comfort zone can snowball
It can.
into something so impactful.
Yeah.
Speaking of snowball effects, Marcus decided to pay it forward by helping his cousin, Jake,
Oh, cool.
who was struggling to launch his career.
Right.
Jake thought that he just didn't have the right connections. But Marcus showed him that those connections, they're built, not given.
Okay.
He emphasized that you have to be genuinely interested in other people.
Yeah.
Ask insightful questions and follow up after you've met someone.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Jake was handed the keys to networking success.
He was.
What were some of those specific things that clicked for him?
Well, one of the first things was realizing that you don't have to be a social butterfly to be good at networking.
Right.
Like, you don't have to be the life of the party.
Yeah.
It's about finding your own way to connect with people. And for Jake, that actually meant focusing on online platforms
Right.
like LinkedIn, where he could actually do research on people in his field
Yeah.
and initiate conversations
Right.
through, thoughtful comments and messages.
So he was comfortable reaching out online.
Exactly.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Networking doesn't have to be all about in-person events.
Right.
There are so many ways to connect with people online.
Especially if you're someone who finds those big gatherings a bit overwhelming. The key is to just be genuine.
Right.
And to offer value in your interactions.
Exactly. And you know what? Jake ended up landing his dream job
Really?
through a connection he made on LinkedIn.
Wow. What a success story.
Yeah. Pretty cool. So we've seen how Liam took control of his finances.
Yeah.
Marcus expanded his network. Now let's talk about Lena,
Okay.
who's feeling kind of stuck in a professional rut.
Right.
She has the skills,
Yeah.
but she's lacking that confidence and the direction to really level up. What was it that kind of ignited that transformation for her?
It was actually a chance encounter
Wow.
with a former classmate of hers
Right.
who attributed his success to constantly learning.
Oh, interesting.
Lena was initially hesitant.
I can imagine thinking, I'm already established. Do I really need to go back to school?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But his enthusiasm was kind of contagious.
I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah.
To that feeling of getting comfortable and thinking, okay, I've learned enough.
Right.
But in today's world, things are changing so fast.
They are.
How can we possibly stay ahead of the curve without constantly expanding our skill set?
It's tough.
So what was Lena's first step?
Well, she decided to step outside her comfort zone
Okay.
and sign up for a leadership workshop.
Okay. And I know what you're thinking.
Right.
Another workshop.
Right.
But this wasn't some kind of dry lecture.
No, it was.
This focused on the human side of leadership.
Oh.
Effective communication.
Yeah.
Conflict resolution. Managing those high-pressure situations.
Right. Skills that are valuable no matter what you do,
Exactly.
regardless of your job title.
Yeah, so it wasn't about climbing the corporate ladder.
Right.
It was about becoming a more effective individual.
More confident.
Yes, and here's the interesting part.
Okay.
Lena found herself connecting with people from all sorts of different industries.
Oh, cool.
And it turns out the challenges of leadership are pretty universal.
Yeah.
It's about understanding human dynamics, whether you're leading a team at work or managing a family at home.
That's true.
So it wasn't just about those specific skills.
Right.
It was about expanding her perspective,
Yeah.
connecting with people outside of her usual circle.
Absolutely.
And this brings us to another important part of Lena's journey.
What's that?
She realized that investing in personal growth
Yeah.
wasn't just about adding things to her resume. It was about the satisfaction of expanding her knowledge,
Right.
becoming a more well-rounded person.
It's like that feeling of accomplishment when you master a new skill.
Right.
Whether it's learning a new language or finally figuring out how to code,
Totally.
it boosts your confidence.
It does.
Opens up all these new possibilities.
Absolutely. And Lena didn't stop there.
Oh, no.
She also signed up for a seminar on emotional intelligence.
Interesting.
This is a topic that's getting a lot of attention lately,
It is.
especially in the workplace. It's about understanding your own emotions,
Yeah.
the emotions of others,
Right.
and learning how to manage those dynamics.
It's not just about being nice.
Right.
It's a real skill set.
Totally. It helps you navigate difficult situations and build those stronger relationships.
Exactly. And during one of the exercises, Lena was paired with a software engineer.
Yeah?
And they discovered that despite their very different backgrounds, they face very similar communication challenges.
Oh, interesting.
And it highlighted the fact that emotional intelligence is valuable in any field.
No matter what you do.
Exactly.
So it sounds like Lena's commitment to continuous learning had a ripple effect.
It did.
Not just on her career, but on her personal life as well.
It did.
Did her transformation inspire anyone else?
Oh, absolutely.
To kind of take the leap?
She became a champion for personal growth.
Okay.
She encouraged her friends, colleagues to embrace lifelong learning, and it was contagious.
Really?
Yeah. Several of her coworkers ended up signing up for workshops.
Wow.
And online courses.
That's awesome.
They realized that investing in themselves wasn't a luxury.
Right.
It was a necessity.
In today's world, yeah.
Exactly.
It's amazing how one person's journey can impact those around them.
It really is.
Now, let's shift gears.
Okay.
And talk about another key theme in Arman's book.
Right.
The transformative power of giving back. And this is where we meet Noah.
Okay.
Who seemingly had it all. Successful career, financial security, loving family.
But something was missing.
There was
this emptiness that he couldn't quite explain.
He had achieved those markers of success.
Yeah.
But they weren't bringing him fulfillment.
Right.
And then he reconnected with an old friend, Maya, who just radiated this sense of purpose.
Really?
Yeah. And her secret.
What was it?
She dedicated a lot of her time to volunteer work.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't about money or status.
It was about making a meaningful contribution to something bigger than herself.
Now, initially, Noah was skeptical. He'd always thought of volunteering as something, nice to do, but not essential.
Right.
But Maya challenged him to see it differently.
How so?
She described it as a soul recharge.
Oh.
A way to connect with something beyond the daily grind.
Interesting.
So what was Noah's first step into this world of giving back?
Yeah.
Did he jump in head first?
Or dip his toe in cautiously?
He decided to start small.
Okay.
Volunteering a few hours each week.
Yeah.
At a local children's shelter. And that's where everything changed.
Really?
He was helping this young boy with his homework. And the moment that boy's face lit up with understanding, Noah felt this profound sense of satisfaction that he hadn't experienced in his corporate job.
It's amazing how helping others can fill us up.
It is.
In ways that material success just can't.
So did Noah's passion for giving back influence other areas of his life?
Absolutely.
How so?
Well, his whole perspective shifted. He became more patient with his colleagues, more grateful for what he had.
Right.
The stress that used to consume him, it just seemed to melt away.
Wow.
He even started incorporating small acts of kindness into his daily routine.
Like what?
Like helping an elderly neighbor with their groceries, or offering a genuine compliment to a stranger.
Right, it's that ripple effect.
Exactly.
One positive action can create waves of change.
It can.
Not just in our own lives,
right,
but in the lives of others.
Absolutely. And Noah decided to pay it forward.
That's awesome.
He did.
How so?
He started championing these volunteer initiatives at his company.
Okay.
Encouraging his colleagues to give back.
Yeah. So it wasn't just about donating money.
Right.
It was about creating a culture of generosity within his workplace.
Exactly. He shared his story, emphasizing that even those small acts of service can make a big difference.
And how did his team respond?
Oh, they were enthusiastic. They organized volunteer outings, mentorship programs, fundraising events.
That's amazing.
It created a real sense of camaraderie and purpose.
It's incredible how giving back can do that.
It is.
It creates such a positive force within a team or community.
Absolutely. Now let's move on to a topic that's often overlooked, but incredibly important. The art of setting boundary.
All right. I like this one.
Yeah.
This is where we meet Ava.
Okay.
Who was the ultimate people pleaser, always saying yes to every request, no matter how stretched she was.
She was the go-to person for everyone.
Right. Always willing to lend a hand.
Cover a shift.
Plan an event.
Exactly. But over time, she started feeling overwhelmed, resentful.
Right.
Those constant demands on her time and energy were leaving her feeling drained.
It's like she was pouring from an empty cup.
Yes, exactly.
Giving and giving
Yeah.
until there was nothing left.
Right.
So when did she realize she needed to make a change?
It was a seemingly small incident.
Okay.
A colleague asked her to cover his shift, and for the first time ever, she said no.
Wow.
It was terrifying at first.
I can imagine.
But the relief she felt afterward was incredible.
So she finally gave herself permission.
She did.
To prioritize her own needs.
Yeah.
But saying no, that's not always easy.
It's not, especially when you're used to always saying yes.
Exactly.
It takes practice, but it's essential for maintaining those healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Ava realized that saying no wasn't selfish.
Right.
It wasn't about letting people down.
Yeah.
It was about respecting her own limits.
Okay.
And prioritizing her well-being.
So how did that newfound assertiveness impact her relationships?
Surprisingly, the opposite happened.
What do you mean?
People started respecting her more.
Really?
Yeah. They saw she was taking care of herself, that her time and energy were valuable, and that actually made her a more effective colleague and friend.
So it's not about becoming a doormat.
No.
It's about finding that healthy balance between giving to others and honoring your own needs.
Right.
And Ava, inspired by her own transformation, became a champion for boundary setting.
She did.
Encouraging her friends, family, to prioritize their own well-being. She even helped her sister, Mia, who was struggling with similar issues, to start setting boundaries.
That's great.
It's amazing how that can create a ripple effect.
It can.
Not just in our own lives, but in the lives of those around us.
Absolutely. Now let's dive into a concept that's gained a lot of popularity. Minimalism.
Yes, I'm intrigued by this one.
Yeah.
Arman presents it not just as a way to declutter your space, but as a mindset shift that can free you from excess in all areas of your life.
Right.
This is where we meet Lena again, who was feeling overwhelmed by all the stuff she had.
Yeah.
Her apartment was overflowing with clothes she never wore, books she never read, gadgets she never used.
It can happen.
She realized that her possessions, instead of bringing her joy, were weighing her down, physically and emotionally.
It's like being trapped under a mountain of clutter.
It is.
You can't breathe.
So what was Lena's first step towards minimalism?
She came across this concept of the maybe later box.
What's that?
So it's simple, but effective.
Okay.
Take any item you're unsure about and put it in the box. If you don't reach for it in a set period, let's say 3 months, you donate it.
So it helps you detach
exactly
from those sentimental attachments we often have to our things.
I do.
But isn't it hard to let go?
It can be.
Especially if you spent money on something.
Right.
But lying discovered.
Yeah, that the benefits far outweighed any initial hesitation.
What benefits?
Well, as she started decluttering, she noticed this shift.
Okay.
She felt lighter.
Yeah.
Less burdened by all that stuff.
Right.
The space she created allowed her to focus on what truly mattered.
So it's not about having less stuff.
No.
It's about creating space for what brings you joy.
Exactly.
And what aligns with your values.
Right.
And Lena's journey didn't stop there.
Oh, no.
She started unsubscribing from emails.
Yeah.
Deleting apps. Being more intentional with her time.
It's about minimizing distractions.
Right.
Creating a more focused and fulfilling life.
Did Lena's minimalist approach inspire anyone else?
Absolutely. Her friend Caleb visited her newly decluttered apartment. He was amazed.
I bet.
He decided to try that maybe later box experiment himself.
Wow, so cool.
He was eager to experience that same sense of freedom and clarity
that Lena had found.
Exactly.
It's amazing how one person's commitment to simplicity,
can inspire others
to
rethink their own relationship with their possessions.
Right.
Now, let's delve into something that's woven throughout Arman's book.
Right.
The power of embracing failure as a stepping stone.
Oh, interesting.
To success.
I like that.
And who better to illustrate this than Liam?
Right.
Who, despite his newfound financial stability, was hesitant to pursue his dream.
What was his dream?
Of starting his own business.
Okay.
So he had conquered that fear of financial insecurity, but now he was facing a new fear.
What was that?
The fear of failing.
Publicly.
Yeah. He'd always played it safe, afraid of making mistakes or looking foolish. But his mentor, Noah.
Oh, yeah, from the volunteer story.
Yes. challenged him to reframe his perspective on failure.
How so?
He shared his own experiences, highlighting the fact that every successful entrepreneur has faced setbacks along the way.
Right.
It's not about avoiding failure. It's about learning from it.
Yeah, he encouraged Liam to view those failures as opportunities to learn, not as signs of inadequacy.
That's a good point.
So it's about shifting your mindset from a fear of failure to a curiosity about what you can learn from those stumbles along the way.
Noah reminded Liam that even the most successful companies have a long list of failures behind them.
It's true.
It's through those experiments, those iterations, that we eventually achieve breakthroughs.
So did Liam take Noah's advice to heart?
He did.
And pursue his entrepreneurial dreams?
He did.
Tell me more.
Well, he started small.
Okay.
Testing out different ideas.
Yeah.
Knowing that some would fail.
Right.
But he didn't see failure as a roadblock anymore.
Yeah.
He saw it as a detour.
I like that.
On the path to success.
So it's that fail fast, fail often mentality.
It is.
It's not about celebrating failure.
Yeah.
It's about embracing it as part of the process.
Exactly.
Speaking of mindset shifts.
Yeah.
Arman also explores cultivating a positive outlook, even in the face of challenges.
It's important.
And we see this with Lena again.
Okay.
Who, despite her professional success, was struggling with negative self-talk.
Oh.
And this tendency to focus on the worst-case scenario.
Right.
She had achieved so much.
Yeah.
But those negative thoughts were holding her back.
It happens.
So she decided to take control of her thoughts. How'd she do that?
Well, she started by becoming more aware of her inner dialogue, paying attention to the words she was using. And whenever she caught herself spiraling, she would consciously replace those thoughts with more positive ones.
So instead of saying, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, she'd say things like, I'm willing to try. I am capable. I am worthy.
It felt a bit forced at first, but over time, those affirmations reshaped her mindset.
It's amazing how powerful our thoughts can be.
It is.
When we focus on the negative, we attract more negativity.
Right.
But when we cultivate a positive outlook, we open ourselves up to possibilities.
Absolutely.
We create a more positive reality.
That shift in Lena's mindset had a profound impact on her confidence and her ability to take on new challenges.
So she started approaching things with a more optimistic outlook. More solution-oriented.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
That's true.
Our beliefs really do shape our reality.
They do.
Now, Arman also talks about self-care. And it's something that's so important.
It is.
But often overlooked.
Right.
He reminds us that we can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
If we're constantly depleted, we're not going to have the energy to pursue our goal.
Right.
Or create the life that we want.
He brings back Marcus to illustrate this.
Okay. The networking guy.
Yeah. So Marcus, despite his successful career and his expanding network, was feeling burned out.
Oh, wow.
Overwhelmed.
So he was achieving success outwardly, but neglecting his well-being on the inside.
Exactly. He'd been pushing himself too hard, sacrificing sleep for work, skipping meals, neglecting his hobbies. He thought self-care was selfish.
Right, or a luxury.
Yeah.
But neglecting your own needs eventually catches up to you.
It does.
So how did Marcus finally realize that self-care wasn't optional?
Right.
It was essential.
He hit a wall. Physically and emotionally.
Okay.
Exhausted, irritable, couldn't focus.
Right.
That's when he knew he had to make a change.
So what did he do?
Well, he started incorporating some simple self-care practices into his routine.
Like what?
Well, he started prioritizing sleep, making time for exercise, and reconnecting with those activities that brought him joy.
Like what?
Like playing his guitar, spending time in nature.
So it wasn't about grand gestures?
No, it was the basics.
Yeah.
Making those small but consistent choices
that
nurtured his well-being.
Did he notice a difference?
Oh, absolutely.
How so?
He felt more energized, more focused, and more resilient.
That's awesome.
He was able to approach his work with renewed enthusiasm, more present in his relationships.
It's amazing.
It is.
How taking care of ourselves can impact every area of our lives.
It's like that oxygen mask analogy on an airplane.
Right.
You have to put on your own mask first before you can assist others.
Now, let's talk about the power of gratitude.
Okay.
Arman brings back Ava for this one.
Right.
Who, despite her newfound ability to set boundaries and prioritize self-care, still found herself feeling kind of unfulfilled.
Really?
Yeah, she was constantly focused on what she lacked.
Right. Rather than appreciating what she had. It's that comparison trap.
It is. Comparison is the thief of joy.
That's true.
How did she break free?
Well, she stumbled upon the practice of keeping a gratitude journal.
Yeah.
Each day, she would write down 3 things she was grateful for.
No matter how small.
It didn't matter.
So it wasn't about denying the challenges.
No, it was about shifting her focus
Okay.
to those good things in her life.
The things we often take for granted.
Exactly. And at first, it felt forced.
Yeah.
But as she practiced consistently, she noticed a shift. Okay. She started to appreciate those simple joys.
Yeah.
A sunny morning.
Right.
A delicious meal. A heartfelt conversation.
It's about training your mind to see that beauty, that abundance that already exists.
Instead of chasing after what you lack.
And what happened?
As Ava's gratitude grew, so did her contentment, her happiness.
It's a powerful reminder.
It is.
That happiness is often found in the present moment.
Not in the future.
Not in some future state of having or achieving.
Right. Now let's explore mindfulness.
Okay, this is a popular topic.
It is.
But often misunderstood.
Right.
Arman presents it not as some mystical practice, but as a practical tool for managing stress, improving focus, enhancing our well-being.
He introduces Noah again.
All right. Noah's back.
Yeah, and this time he's struggling with anxiety.
Okay.
And this feeling of overwhelm.
Even though he's found fulfillment in giving back.
Right, it can happen.
Yeah.
He had a million thoughts racing through his mind.
Right.
He felt disconnected from his body.
In the present moment.
Yeah, that feeling of constantly being plugged in is always
more truly present.
So Noah decides to give mindfulness meditation a try.
Interesting. So he went from volunteering at a children's shelter to meditating on a cushion.
It might seem like a big leap.
It does.
But both practices are about connecting with something deeper than the daily grind.
Yeah.
And mindfulness meditation is actually a simple technique.
Okay. Tell me more.
It involves focusing on your breath and observing your thoughts and sensations without judgment.
So it's not about emptying your mind or achieving some blissful state.
Right.
It's about becoming more aware of your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
And learning to observe them without getting swept away by them.
Right. At first, Noah found it challenging to quiet his mind.
I bet.
But he stuck with it.
Good for him.
He practiced for a few minutes each day. And over time, he noticed his anxiety levels decreased.
That's great.
He became more grounded, more present,
Okay.
more able to handle the stresses of daily life.
So it's like creating that space between you and your thoughts.
Right.
So you're not constantly reacting to them.
Exactly.
We can choose how to respond. It's almost like you create this pause button in your mind. And Noah also found that mindfulness helped him be more present in his interactions.
With others.
Yeah, he could listen more attentively, communicate more effectively,
And
just appreciate those simple joys.
in everyday life.
Yeah, more fully.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how taking a few minutes each day to just focus on your breath has such a profound impact on your well-being.
Now let's talk about personal values.
Okay, values.
Yeah, Arman reminds us that our values are our guiding principles. They're the things that matter most to us.
Right.
The things that shape our decisions and actions.
And he brings back Lena for this one.
Okay, Lena again.
Yeah, who, despite her success in her career and her personal life, still felt this sense of misalignment.
Interesting.
Dissatisfaction.
So she had achieved those external markers of success.
She had.
But it wasn't translating into genuine fulfillment.
It's like she was living someone else's version of success.
Exactly.
Not her own.
Right, so she took a step back to reflect on what really mattered to her. She asked herself, what do I value most? What kind of person do I want to be?
Right.
What kind of impact do I want to make?
Those are big questions.
They are.
And I imagine the answers weren't immediately obvious.
They weren't. It took some soul searching.
Yeah.
But she eventually identified those core values.
And what were they?
Creativity, freedom, connection, and growth.
Once she had identified those values, what did she do with them?
Well, she started making choices that were aligned with those values, even if those choices went against conventional wisdom or the expectations of others.
So give me an example.
Sure. So she actually quit her corporate job.
Wow.
Yeah, it was high-paying but unfulfilling.
Right.
And she started her own business that allowed her to express her creativity, work on her own terms.
Yeah.
Connect with others in a more meaningful way.
So she prioritized her values.
She did.
Over external markers of success.
Exactly.
Like a big paycheck or a fancy title.
And it wasn't always easy.
No, I can imagine.
But she found that living in alignment with her values brought her a sense of purpose and fulfillment that she had never experienced before.
It's like that saying.
What's that?
Success is living your life by your own compass, not by someone else's map.
Absolutely.
Lena's story is a powerful reminder.
It is.
That when we live in accordance with our values, our actions feel authentic, meaningful.
We feel a sense of alignment, and our lives become a reflection of what truly matters to us.
Okay, so now let's talk about purpose.
Right, purpose.
Which is this concept that can feel kind of mysterious.
Yeah.
But it's essentially about finding meaning and direction in our lives.
Arman brings back Marcus.
Okay, Marcus again.
Yeah, who, despite his success, building this thriving business,
still felt like something was missing.
Interesting.
He had that financial security,
right,
a strong network. He'd even mastered the art of self-care.
He did all the things.
Right, but he still felt this void.
Like he had all the ingredients for a fulfilling life. But the recipe was missing something.
Exactly.
So how did Marcus find his purpose?
Well, it was a combination of things.
Okay.
Reflection, exploration, a little bit of discovery.
Okay.
He started by thinking about his values, his passions, the things that brought him joy.
Okay.
And he realized he was deeply passionate about education.
Okay.
Empowering young people.
Interesting. So he had this successful business.
He did.
But his heart was pulling him in a different direction.
Exactly.
What did he do?
He started exploring different avenues.
Okay.
For using his skills and resources to contribute to causes he cared about.
Okay. So give me an example.
Well, he started mentoring young entrepreneurs, volunteering at a nonprofit focused on youth development, and investing in companies creating positive social impact.
So he didn't just write a check.
No, he was actively engaged.
That's awesome. And what happened?
As he started aligning his actions with his purpose, he experienced a profound sense of fulfillment, a satisfaction.
That had been missing.
Exactly.
It's amazing how connecting with your purpose can do that.
It is.
Even if you're already successful in other areas.
All right. Arman emphasizes that purpose isn't something we find. It's something we create.
We create. Okay.
It's about identifying what matters most to us.
Yeah.
And using our unique gifts to make a positive impact.
And sometimes that impact might not be on a grand scale.
Right.
It might be about making a difference in the lives of those around us.
In your community.
Your family.
Exactly.
So as we kind of wrap up our exploration of Chapter 10, Arman leaves us with this reminder that personal transformation, it's not just about achieving external success.
Right.
It's about becoming the best version of ourselves.
Cultivating inner peace.
Yeah.
Joy. Aligning our actions with our values.
Living a life.
That's a true reflection
of who we are.
At our core.
It's about embracing that journey. Of self-discovery.
Exploring our passions.
Connecting with our purpose.
And living a life that's authentic.
Meaningful.
It's an ongoing journey.
It is, not a destination.
We have to embrace those ups and downs.
The successes, the setbacks.
And use them all.
As fuel for growth.
And remember, the world needs what you have to offer. Your unique gifts and talents.
That's right.
The more you invest in yourself, the more you can contribute to something larger than yourself.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into Sazid Arman's Level Up Your Life.
Great book.
I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Sure.
What are some of the key takeaways that have really resonated with you?
Well, one thing that stood out to me is how interconnected all these strategies are.
I agree.
It's not about picking just one.
Right.
It's about recognizing how they all work together.
To create that holistic approach.
Exactly.
To personal growth.
Yeah. You can't really master your finances without understanding the importance of boundaries.
And self-care.
Right. And giving back can fuel your motivation.
Your resilience.
Absolutely.
It's like weaving a tapestry.
I like that.
Each thread, each strategy contributes to the overall beauty,
strength
of the final piece.
And what I love about Arman's book is that it's not just about achieving some abstract idea of success.
Right.
It's about becoming more conscious,
more intentional,
more empowered
in every area of your life.
It's about recognizing that you have the power
yes.
to shape your own reality,
to create a life that's fulfilling,
impactful.
So as we leave this deep dive, I will leave you with this question.
Okay.
What's one small step you can take today to level up your life?
Maybe it's taking a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for.
Okay.
Or reaching out to someone you admire. Or maybe even finally decluttering that drawer.
That's been driving you crazy.
Exactly.
Remember, personal transformation is a journey,
not a destination.
Every step, no matter how small, brings you closer
to being the best version of yourself.
That ripple effects of your growth will extend
far beyond your own life,
inspiring others.
Level up as well.
So go out there and make it happen.
The world is waiting.